This is the UR Business Network.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Your Business Matters. I'm Heather Poduska, your host, where we bring you leaders in industry, thought leaders, to give you advice, tips, and resources to grow your business, grow yourself, and of course, make more money. I'm so delighted to be joined today by my guest, Doug Luffborough. Welcome, Doug.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you so much for coming. Doug is so great to have here today. He is a heart-inspired speaker and thought leader and leadership consultant, and also an author of a new book called Watch Me Rise, going from, is that correct?
Yep, that's right. Yeah,
awesome.
I love hearing you say it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Watch me rise.
Watch you rise, and we are going to watch you rise right now, right? And it's his personal story of triumph going from homelessness to Harvard. So I'm delighted to have you here. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here and to really speak to all the listeners here, particularly in business, on about themselves and about how they can do better in their business.
Great, thank you so much. And I caught wind in the lobby that you're actually homegrown from this area of the country. Is that right?
Absolutely. Well, I've been in San Diego for the last 15 years, past 15 years, but I'm from Worcester, Massachusetts, so it's great to be home. I'm a graduate of Northeastern University, go Huskies,
there you go.
But also Harvard Graduate School of Education, so it's great to be back and, the place that turned my heart and gave me an opportunity to see what life's all about through college at Northeastern and Harvard.
Yeah, that's great. So tell me a little bit about the work that you do now.
So I'm a heart-inspired speaker, and so what that means is I speak from the heart, and I speak all across the country, even spoken to other countries like Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia. But I use my story as a catalyst to really speak to young people and anyone who will listen about when life knocks you down, you get back up. Quitting is not an option. And so my story goes from growing up in Worcester, Massachusetts, and my most trying time was when I was a senior in high school. My guidance counselor told me I was not college material. And my one dream and goal in life was to go to college. I wanted to be the first person in my family to go to college. A dream almost deferred by my guidance counselor. But you know what? I had a lot of great people around me. And that would be the first thing I would tell to everyone who's watching today. Surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with people who lift you up and don't bring you down. Surround yourself with people who celebrate you and don't tolerate you. And you will be extremely successful in business.
That's such great advice. And also, it's something to think about. As we go through our days, we say things, we talk about things, and sometimes we have no idea the impact that it's going to have on someone else. Like your guidance counselor, I don't know how they couldn't know that the impact that would have on you, but sometimes we just say things and the other person, that changes their life for the better, or it sends them off track 50 degrees. So we also have to be very watchful of what we say.
You know, you're exactly right. As a matter of fact, I think the majority of Americans are living out the prescription that someone else gave them about what they should do, where they should go, where they should major in school. And it's really the entrepreneurs who say, my life can be lived better than this, or, my life isn't fulfilled doing this. I need to do that, even if it means that I struggle, in a sense, trying to make all the money that I need to live, but this is what brings me happiness. I think it's really important for anyone who's getting into business, do something that you love and the money will follow.
Yeah, that's perfect, because if you have passion, you have more energy, you have more enthusiasm, and that breeds confidence, which breeds attraction, right?
Yeah, so since 1993, thereabout, I've been speaking to hundreds, thousands of schools and thousands of people all across, whoever will hear the story. And I use the story just as a catalyst to bring home some certain points. And those points are hang around people that celebrate you and don't tolerate you. It's also, if you don't see your dream and your vision happening, doesn't mean that it's not there. It just means it's not time. But to continue doing what brings you passion and gives you joy.
That's great. So, Doug, I'm really curious, and I want to know, it's one thing to say, I was surrounded by people that mitigated this negative advice, and I ended up at Harvard. And I can have positive people in my life. I can think my dream is not yet. But how do I take those steps to get from here to here? How did you do that?
Well, I mean, the practical application is that you got to put in the work. There's one thing to say, you know, to go from being homeless to Harvard, to say that, you know, to say that, but it's another to know. What folks didn't realize is that when I was 18, 19, 20, and even 21, where folks were out partying and had other choices, I had my nose planted in a book. So it was actually doing the work. And so I was very specific on where I wanted to go. I applied to one graduate school. If I didn't get in, I wasn't going to go. But I felt that I was Harvard material. And so I did everything that I needed to do, working backwards. I knew exactly what I needed to do, and I think that's important, is you gotta have a plan and you gotta stick to it. But most importantly, you gotta put in the work. What folks see here is a manifestation of something that started 44 years ago. It didn't just happen overnight. I mean, even when I was homeless, I still was the type of young person that had joy. I still was the type of young person that would get involved. I was still the type of young person that had leadership qualities and leadership abilities. Unfortunately, I just didn't have the right living situation. But for most people, they know what they want to do at a very young age. It's just being able to stick to it, following a plan.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of a Will Smith, I think it's Will Smith quote that says, don't have a plan B because it interferes with plan A.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so true, because life sometimes has a way of throwing folks curveballs. So, you know, it may, like, for instance, I'm a father of 4. I have 4 kids. My oldest is 11, my youngest is 3. So it's great to have a dream that I want to be a speaker and I want to change the world, and that's great, and I should still do it. But parallel to that, if there are opportunities that come up that will help to bring the level of comfort that our family needs, I'm willing to make that sacrifice if need be. So I don't want to say it's this or that. It can be both and.
Yeah, and I think that what you're saying is, well, one way to think about it is if you're following plan A, opportunities that you didn't know would be available present themselves.
That's, yeah, perfect. That's the exact way to say it. And that's kind of happened my whole life. But I think it's because your attitude and the way you come to life says it all. I mean, sometimes folks kill their dreams based on what they say. I mean, when I wake up, I look at life like, what's in store today? And how am I going to take advantage of even the most negative things that may happen to me? See, you know, I might misquote it, so maybe you can help me on this, but, you know, they say 90% attitude, 90%, you know, but it's the 10%, you know, it's the, you know what I'm saying?
Success is 90% perspiration, 10% inspiration.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's what you bring to it. So, you know, in the book Watch Me Rise, which is a memoir of my life, growing up from the streets of Worcester and then graduating from Harvard Graduate School of Education with my brother Darryl. We both went. We both also were homeless. I was homeless in my high school year, so it was challenging, but both of us graduated from Harvard graduates. I think we're the only 2 African-American boys from Worcester, Massachusetts, who were both formerly homeless to ever graduate from Harvard Graduate School of Education. I mean, that's not in the cards, right? You know, but it was because we had a great mom, and our mother who raised, I didn't have a father in my life, but my mother raised us that we were going to do extremely well, and it was not an option, and neither was college. So when you're raised in that environment, you become what you've been raised to be.
Right. So just for the people who don't know, can you just describe Worcester?
It's the best city in New England. Remember I said it's all how you look at it? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, Worcester's the 2nd largest city. Boston, Worcester, Springfield.
So let me rephrase that. Your circumstances at the time growing up.
Okay. Well, you know, I was fortunate enough. For folks who know Worcester, I grew up on the west side, which is near Tatnick Square, the Worcester Airport area, which is a pretty good side of town. But we lived in the only triplex, you know, the what's it called, triple decker. I don't know if they say that anymore. You know, I've been away, but
did you say triple decker?
They used to call it triple decker. I live in a triple decker home. I don't know if they still do that, but I might be really dating myself. But we used to call it, it's a triple decker. So you stay in we're in the only triple decker in the neighborhood, yeah. And my mother was a housekeeper and cleaned the houses next to us. That's why we lived there. And but in my home was turmoil. I come from a family of domestic violence and abuse and neglect. But outside my home was wonderful, and all my friends grew up in the Cape. And so I was surrounded, I had this dichotomy when the house that I lived in was really dark, damp, and abandoned. But outside the house, I was connected with such a great social circle of friends that I got to see what life really could be about. So, but I grew up in the environment was middle class, the majority was Caucasian, we were like the only family of color in the neighborhood, but they treated me like I was their family, a part of their family.
That's fantastic. So your story really, really is remarkable, and I know that in the book you give so much wisdom about how to turn your life around and go for your dreams. And if you could just give, it's interesting because you're talking about the inside looking out and then being on the outside. So if you could pick two pieces of advice, one for the kid who's on the inside going, man, I do not have the support that I need to keep going for their dreams. And the second piece is, what advice would you give for someone who's on the outside, who has the resources, who could help somebody? What should they be doing?
Wow, those are great questions. Let me start with the first one and then help me with the second one again, because I was trying to frame how I was going to say my response. For the person that's looking inside, that would be really to go find a mentor or someone to mentor them. I really believe that there's...
And what kind of a person would that be?
That's a good question. And I struggle with it because it really depends on what they're looking for, right? Like for me, I was just looking for a mentor, period. Sorry, I was just looking for somebody. Somebody help a brother out. Help a brother out. Sorry. But no, literally, I was like that. And people turned their head to me when I was a young kid, because maybe I didn't talk like they talk, I didn't look like they look, I didn't come from that background. I was a little rough on the edges, right? But I needed someone to guide me, besides my mom,
That's why I asked. Who would it be? A teacher? Would it be a pastor?
Yeah. So for me, it was my baseball coach, Coach Miller. Coach Miller, he was no joke. I mean, that's how I say it. I mentioned it in the book. There's a chapter called Coach Miller. And Coach Miller, he believed in excellence, a spirit of excellence. He would say, if you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're 15 minutes late, you run. And in the real world, you are fired. I was 10 years old when he told me that. And so I'm never late. I'm 15 minutes early because of that lesson that he taught me. The second person that mentored me was Miss G. Miss G was my music teacher. Miss G is now 95 years old, and ever since I graduated from Northeastern University, which I had a great graduation, by the way, I was the student commencement speaker of my class and preceded President Bill Clinton. So the day I got off the stage, I received a call from Miss G, who was in Auburn, Massachusetts, who said, I'm so proud of you, because I started off my speech singing a song, because I knew they weren't there to listen to me. They were there to listen to the president, but I wanted people to know who Doug Luffborough is and who Doug Luffborough is all about. But I gained that inspiration to sing in front of 14,000 people from Miss G. So
I love Miss G.
Yeah, so it's people like Miss G, Coach Miller, that regardless of my circumstances, they believed in me. And I really, truly believe everyone has someone who believed in them along the way. Go back to that person and make sure you thank them.
So then the flip side of that, if you're a coach, if you're Miss G, what would you tell them?
Look for the diamonds in the rough. Look for the people who society might consider the least likely, and focus your time and energy on them. That's the best way to give back. Absolutely.
Great. Well, I think that we're about time, but I just want to thank you so much, Doug, for coming. And you're not a diamond in the rough anymore. You are a bright, shining star. So thank you so much for joining me.
And if I could just share, if folks want to get the book, they could log on to dougluff.com. That's DOUGLUFF.com. And go ahead and order the book of Watch Me Rise today. I know it'll have a positive impact in your life.
Thank you so much. This is Heather Poduska. Here's to hitting all your high notes. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
This is the UR Business Network.